and welcome back to another episode of jPlay. I'm Marcus, and today I want to start my playthrough session of Drumroll. As I did that with Stronghold, I will more or less do a learning session, a personal learning session, as I've never played this game before. It's not that new. Of course, this version is relatively new, though I just got this reward from Kickstarter, I think sometime last week or so, or maybe this week, cannot quite remember. But it's basically a reprint of a 2011 version of the same game. I think they did some streamlining to the game board. I think within the rule set they did some changes and stuff like that, but overall it's more or less the same game. Of course, there are some nice little Kickstarter reward or stretch goals that are in this game, but I think I will not include them in my playthrough here. So, what I will do is basically play a complete game, or not really complete, so I will simulate a 3-player game. I think this is the more or less best way to learn the normal rules. I think even when playing with 2 players, the rules are more or less the same. There are only some minor adjustments you have to do, but I will do a 3-player playthrough, and I think I will only play, I think maybe 2 presentations, so not the full game with 3 performances. I think to learn this game, this should be actually sufficient. Yeah, so then let's open the box, let's see what comes with Drumroll, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This is the main game board of Drumroll, and really look at that, how beautiful that is. So this is what I really like about the games from Artipia. The artwork is just fabulous. I already did some preparation for the game setup. So basically we have these 2, call it turn markers here. So this is representing the first turn, this one is representing the first show. As I said, I will only play 2 shows instead of the complete 3 shows. I think for learning this game, this should be sufficient. I also placed the big player cubes here. There are big ones and there are small ones, just to give you a comparison, though this would be a normal resource, the small one here, and these are really indicating some player tokens here. I placed them on the starting track of the ticket track, or ticket area. This is representing the ticket prices later on. And of course, Drumroll wouldn't be a Euro-style game if there wouldn't be any victory point track, and this is where I place the other tokens or cubes from the players, all starting at value 0. The next thing would be to prepare the hiring area. We start with the personal cards, and you would deal 1 personal card for each player that's playing this game. In this case, this is 3, so let's draw 3 of these personal, though this is an agent. This is a personal assistant. I think I will explain those when I'm about to hire them. And the last card would be the bank representative. This wouldn't be a circus if there wouldn't be any performers, so let's deal some performers into the hired area, and this is the rule is a number of player plus 1, so in this case we need 4 performers. So let's see, this is a trickster, apparently a magician, a lion wrestler, this is a tamer, another trickster, and another tiger tamer. So basically we have more or less 2 of a kind, which is fine. The rule only say that we would have to redeal any cards that would exceed the number 2. So if there would be 3 tamers now, then we would normally replace them with another performer. Now let's have a look at the player boards. We have the green player, the red player, and the blue player. 1 player is being dealt the starting player chip. I just chose to have this with the green player, as he's on the left side of my table here. And each player also gains these 3 action discs. This is the normal worker placement mechanism, and this is also something that cannot be exceeded. So you have these 3 workers basically, and that's more or less it. Each player now selects or chooses a random region tile, which he would start his first show. So in this case, for player green, this would be Moscow. Red starts in Vienna, and blue goes to London. The next thing would be to deal some performers to the actual players, and there's a kind of a draft mechanism here in place. So first of all, each player gains 2 of these performers. So this would be for green, this would be for red, and this would be for blue. and I really have the feeling I did poor shuffling here in this case, but let's deal with that. Maybe I give them a bit more shuffle now to make sure at least the next cards will be a bit more random. And next thing that would happen is each player would choose one card to keep and give the other one to the player on his left, I guess. As green's first performance will be in Moscow. You see that Moscow is crazy about magicians and tamers. So for each pair of these magicians or tamers, you gain an additional 2 victory points. As green player has drawn 1 tamer and 1 acrobat, I guess, it's, I think, for him pretty clear that he wants to keep his tamer for this round and gives the contortionist to the player on his left, hoping that he gets another tamer from this player. Let's just do that very quickly. So green gives this guy to player red. Player red wants to keep, I think, the stronger card here, the contortionist as well, not knowing that he gets another contortionist. And I think blue player gives one of his mystic dancer to the player number A, being the green player, and that's the starting setup for the performers. Each player can now choose 2 resources of his choice, and I think this would make sense to use resources that actually are being used for the performers. So I think green will go for a white cube and a green cube. You notice these are being used by the performers down here, but the players have to place the resources in the appropriate resource pool. Red goes for green and blue for red and green. Of course, we need some starting money. And the starting money is 15 minus the hiring costs of your performers. In this case, the hiring cost of the performers would be 6. So green starts with 9 coins. Red only gets 5 and blue starts with 8 coins. And that's already the preparation, so we can actually begin our gameplay. As I mentioned, the normal game consists of 3 performances. I already explained to you I will only play 2 performances. And each performance has a preparation round to that, and this round consists of 5 to 7 turns. Why 5 to 7? It's a good question, because there is a vote mechanism. So after round 5, each player can go a vote if they want to have an additional round or not. Each preparation round consists of basically an action phase and a distribution phase. During the action phase, the players will place their 3 workers on the game board in order to do some actions. And after every player has placed his disc, then we will go to the distribution phase. During the distribution phase, the players are allowed to move up to 2 cubes from their storage area to their performers in order to equip them. So in this case, for example, green player could equip both of his cubes to the elephant tamer, giving a good performance. Once the cubes are on the performers, they are normally not allowed to be moved away from this performer, also meaning that the reserve is very limited. There are of course several exceptions and special situations in the game when these resource blocks go back to the reserve, but I come to that in a second. After the distribution phase, the turn ends and we come to turn number 2. And once we reach at least turn number 5 in the preparation phase, we might start our first performance. So this is when our performers are, let's say, showing what they can, exciting the crowds and so on. We gain victory points, we gain additional resources, some other tokens, rewards, we have to pay the salaries and stuff like that. But I think this is something I will cover later when we actually come to performance. Okay, then let's start our first turn. Green is the starting player at this point in time, and green definitely wants to have additional resource cubes, so he places one of his workers on the appropriate field here. So he wants to have a yellow resource. I think this is some equipment, and we take this yellow resource to the appropriate resource pool. Note, these resource actions are only allowed once per player and once per round. So no other player is now allowed to place his worker on this same field here. Of course, red, for example, could always go there. But red needs money, so he's selling or placing his first worker into the ticket area, so he would be allowed to move his cube to the second space of the ticket area here. So this means he immediately gets 2 additional coins. Blue wants to hire an additional performer, so he places his first worker into the performer area, and I think he's going for the tiger tamer here, which cost him 4 gold coins. So he's paying 4 gold, and then he would be allowed to claim himself the tiger tamer. The performers are not directly replenished, they are only replenished after the end of this turn. I'm really not sure if that's a wise idea, but I want to have green hiring a personnel card, and this would be the bank representative in this case, and this bank representative costs him 4 gold, which he can easily pay from his gold reserve, and so he would be allowed to grab himself the bank representative. The bank representative allows you to place 3, 5 or 10 coins on this card basically, and each time you're doing that you gain 1, 3 or 5 victory points, but the maximum is really 10 gold coins on this card. But also keep in mind, all these cards come with secondary costs, so these are basically the costs you have to pay when you actually hired them, and sometimes that's the same amount, sometimes it's less, especially for the personnel card. This is dramatically less, so the hiring cost would be 4, but the normal salary would be only 1. Red will grab himself a white resource, and blue goes for a red resource. Again, it's green's turn. He will also go for a ticket action, so he will also move ahead here, and this also gets him 2 additional coins. Red definitely wants to have this tamer here, so he's placing his coin, his worker, on the appropriate action here. He has to pay 5 coins, and then he would be allowed to grab himself the lion wrestler. Blue might need some money as well, so he's doing the same, moving his stone there, which will also give him 2 additional coins. And I noticed already a small problem here, or at least might be a bigger problem. The resolution of the action normally comes only after each player has placed their tokens. And this is going from a bottom to top priority, so in this case the red player would go first, then green, and then blue, and so on. The same goes for the recruiting of the performers and so on. But I think as I'm playing alone, it's not really that important then who am I cheating in the end, huh? After all actions have been resolved, the players are now allowed to distribute the resources to the according performers, and you're allowed to move up to 2 resources to your performers. So I think in this case I want to make sure that both of my performers might be able to actually perform during the performance, and so I will move the yellow resource token down there to the Mystic Dancer, and I will send the white resource cube down to the Elephant Tamer. Red definitely wants to show what his lion wrestlers are capable of, and for the second stone it really doesn't matter, so I think he will just go for the blue resource down there. And because he's in London, he definitely wants to give the rope walker a chance, and for the second stone I think we might preparing the tiger tamer down there. That's already the end of round number 1, so we go to round number 2 in the preparation phase. The starting player token moves to the next player. Each performer in each personnel card that has not been hired in this action phase now gets a discount token on it, so these performers are now cheaper on the market. So instead of 3 you have to pay only 2. And as I mentioned before, the same goes for the personnel cards. Next thing to do would be to replenish the personnel, so we have another agent here, and we will also replenish the performers. So here we have Cannonball Man, that's not too bad, and a Joker clone. Looks a bit scary to me. The action discs will go to the appropriate players, and then the new starting player will start a new round in this preparation phase. But I think I will end it here. I think I showed you now the very first preparation turn, or very first turn in the first preparation phase, and so I think this should be sufficient. During the next video I will cover the remaining turns in this preparation phase, and I think I will also show you the first performance then. In the video afterwards I might really consider of playing through the complete phase, including action, preparation and the performance phase. So I hope you enjoyed my very first episode of Drumroll here. Hope to see you soon in episode number 2, and until then, bye bye!